Now let us begin with our translation, beginning at verse 12. Therefore, since we keep having such confident expectation, we employ much confidence, openness, boldness, and not like Moses, who placed a veil on his face so that the sons of Israel would not stare into the end of what was fading away, what was being put aside. And so here, Moses' action, even though he was executing the spiritual life as per the spiritual life that was given to him in the dispensation of Israel under the old covenant, his action of him covering his face was pertinent to the nature of his covenant, the old covenant. The old covenant is that it was only transitory, and it was going to be put to the side. It was going to be fulfilled. As a result, his action of covering his face so that they would not stare at the glory that was fading away was very, very pertinent. It was very compatible with the nature of the covenant. But keep in mind, Moses was a great man. He was a great believer. He executed the plan of God in the dispensation of Israel under the old covenant. And so, Moses' action is the direct antithesis of employing much confidence, much openness, and much boldness. But now we're going to see verse 14, which is those of negative volition, unbeliever, Jewish reversionism. And their actions of negative volition is the direct antithesis to having hope. Such hope implies positive volition. The unbelievers imply negative volition. Even though Moses did advance the plan in the plan of God, him being under the old covenant, which was only transitory, which was being set aside, his action of covering his face, it was very compatible, very compatible with the nature of his covenant. The reason why he covered his face, and the reason why his action is the direct antithesis of employing much confidence, much openness, much boldness. But unbeliever, Jewish reversionism is the direct antithesis of the positive volition of having such confident expectation, hope. But let's go over verse 14, because I think I'm getting ahead of myself. Verse 14, now we have a contrast, Allah, but. It's a direct contrast of what? Having such hope, such confident expectation. Now, in the Old Testament, under the Old Covenant, they did have confident expectation. They did have a hope. It does not compare to the hope that we have now, but they did have hope in the dispensation of Israel under the Old Covenant. Here, this is the direct antithesis. Either you advance in the Old Testament, and with the result that you created hope, a confident expectation about the future, or you denied the doctrine and you became like the Jews, wherein they hardened their hearts. So, the contrast is to those who have positive volition, who have such hope. But, and then we have the nominative, neuter, plural of noema. We've seen this word in 2 Corinthians chapter 2, and we translated the schemes of Satan. And they can be schemes when it refers to Satan. It could be thoughts, the mental processes of people. It could be purpose, a design. Here we're going to translate it, but their thoughts, their thinking, the thinking inside of their hearts. And then we have the genitive of possession of the intensive pronoun autos, ta noemata auton, their thoughts. And we have the aorist passive indicative of poroo. This is from which we get the word porosis. It's a little bit of a misnomer, but yes, this means to harden the heart, and this is the word for scar tissue. This one and skledo, later on we're going to see it, is a reference to scar tissue. And we're going to go over the doctrine of scar tissue really quick, but their thoughts were hardened. This is the accumulation of scar tissue inside of cosmic 2. Now, what do? You hear the gospel here, in this case, in the dispensation of Israel under the Old Covenant. Moses shared the doctrines of the Old Covenant, but the thinking of these Jews were hardened. And so they got into cosmic 2 immediately. It is true that they did not have the divine power sphere as we do in the dispensation of the church, but yes, the cosmic system was in full function at that time. Cosmic number 1 is preoccupation with self. Cosmic number 2 is hatred towards the truth, and they denied the truth, immediately advancing them in cosmic number through the gates of cosmic number 2. This is hatred towards the truth. This is the accumulation of scar tissue. Poro'o. Cosmic number 1 is the blackout of the soul. This is the darkness of the soul, and you begin forgetting doctrine. Here in this case, you just completely blot it out of your thinking, and it's hatred towards the truth. Let me advance with a little information. You cannot deny doctrine and continue denying doctrine and expect to remain the same. The arrogance that is motivated by the denying, the arrogance that motivates the rejection of doctrine is so great that there's no way you remain the same. You do not keep the same norms and standards. You do not remain the same person after denying doctrine and denying doctrine. Whether it's any of these categories, category 1, truth, the laws of divine establishment. Category 2, gospel, for the unbeliever who denies the gospel when he hears that the Lord Jesus Christ dies for his sins. He does not remain the same whenever he denies that doctrine. And for the believer, category 3, he does not remain the same whenever he gets into the habit of denying doctrine. Eventually, you have to be removed from this world. You cannot deny doctrine without God just saying, okay, that's it. Let's take you out of this world already. Here, obviously, where are we? Yes, verse 14. We're talking about Jewish believers in this clause, because all the believers, all the Israelites that crossed the Red Sea were believers at that moment. So these are Jewish believers who were reversionists. But all of a sudden, we're going to jump to, because here it says, to this day, and it talks about the Jews who reject Christ. So we're going to jump into Jewish unbelievers, reversionists, who accumulate scar tissue. So in this clause, it is talking about those who were with Moses. They were believers, they were Jews, but they rejected the truth. Category 3, truth, doctrine for them as it was revealed in the dispensation of Israel. But their thoughts, their thinking was hardened. This is the aorist, the constitutive aorist, collecting into one totality all the times that they denied doctrine. They denied it. All the promises that Moses gave to them, they denied it. As per Hebrews chapter 3, do not harden your hearts, esclato. They denied all the promises that God gave them through Moses. Because they denied it, they did not put it inside of their soul, and their application was bunk. They did not have nothing to apply. All that was applied in the moment of pressure was fear, worry, anxiety, psychosis, mental instability, bipolarism. But their thinking was hardened. The accumulation of scar tissue. Every time you deny a doctrine, you're in cosmic 2, becoming more enmeshed in it, and you bet that your thinking is hardened. But this passive voice, they're thinking inside of their hearts, receive the action of the verb of these believers, and the indicative mood, this is for the reality of scar tissue. It is a real thing. You do deny doctrine and you harden your heart. And now, should we go over the doctrine right now? Yes, let's go over the doctrine. But their thinking was hardened. So let's go over the doctrine of scar tissue. First of all, I think we have to go over the doctrine of reversionism is somewhere right here. Reversionism. Where are you, reversionists? These are the steps of reversionism. Doctrine of reversionism. Romans. Let me put this lowercase really quick. And here we are. Okay. So first of all, there's a few steps. There is reaction to the doctrine. Now this could be, we're talking here about believers in this case, even though there is also unbeliever reversionism. So doctrine of reversionism. Point 1, reaction to life. First of all, here you are. You're advancing in the plan of God. You're learning doctrine. You're using 1 John 1:9. But what happens? You react. You become bored, frustrated. You do not pass the loneliness test. You just react with arrogance, with mental attitude sins, with disillusion, or you react to your pastor. He says something that you don't like. He did not give you the attention, etc. All this stuff, anything can be a reaction. With the result that you stop emphasizing doctrine in your life. You stop making it a priority. And so this leads to point 2, the frantic search for happiness. Let's face it, everyone in life wants to be happy. Everyone makes decisions to be happy. Even people who postpone pleasure decisions, they do it so that in the future they could be happy. They save up money so that they can have a life with much more pleasure and much more relaxation when they get older. So everyone makes decisions to be happy. Unfortunately, many people take different routes. Some take drugs. Some find their kick in religion. You'll be surprised by how many people get a kick by being self-righteous, by feeling superior to others, by feeling more morally superior to others, etc. Emotionalism. Oh, you bet. Look at all the religions full of emotionalism. Drugs also. That's emotionalism. And yeah, there's many ways people search for happiness. But the believer realizes that nope, he has not acquired happiness through all these means. And so what does he do? This is point 3, the process is intensified. Inside of his mind, he says, well, I'm going to partake in more of this. Maybe I'm doing it wrong, and I'm going to do it this way. Or maybe if I don't do it this way, but I do it in this way, I'm going to finally become happier. Therefore, the process is intensified, and this is what my pastor calls Operation Boomerang. It comes back and hits you. By this time, you're already way distracted, completely distracted from the spiritual, the cognition of Bible doctrine. But you're still not completely having negative volition at this moment. But point 4 leads to the emotional revolt. When you give in yourself to a frantic search for happiness, you bet that you're going to react emotionally. You're not happy at the moment. You probably intensify the process and your emotions have gone wild. And one of the least things that you want at this moment is for your thinking to be controlled by your emotions. In fact, when your emotions are controlled by, your thinking is controlled by your emotions, there's not much thinking going on. After this, you bet that your negative volition has become fixed in. So fixed in negative volition towards doctrine. We're talking about the believer here. Even though we do know that the unbeliever does go through reversionism the moment that he rejects the gospel. He gets into cosmic 2 as well. And he continues denying it, until he also has to be taken out of this world. So fixed in negative volition towards doctrine, and this leads to point 6, the blackout of the soul. You remain inside of the cosmic system too long, eventually you start forgetting the doctrine that you had. You're blinded at that moment, and you need some punishment to catch your attention and get back into the divine power sphere, to use 1 John 1:9 and make decisions to learning doctrine. You are deceived at this moment. This is part of the cosmic system. You are blinded. And so you need something that gives you pain, that catches your attention, that distracts you from the influence of the cosmic system momentarily. Something that gives you objectivity momentarily. Because, let me tell you, when you're in cosmic 1, you're too full of yourself. Arrogance is blinding, and to the extent that you are blinded, you are divorced from reality, and you do not see the problem. The reason why God gives you pain, it's either a first phase of divine discipline, it's warning discipline. Second phase of divine discipline is intensive discipline. The third phase of divine discipline is the sin unto death. And so he gives you something that gives you pain so that to catch your attention, to distract you from the influence, the blinding influence of the cosmic system, and give you a moment of momentary objectivity so that you can perhaps make the correct decision of using 1 John 1:9 and start learning doctrine. So he puts you in a situation, God, where you are depleted of your human resources, mentally and material, and you have no way out, so you can finally say, okay, maybe I need to get back into the system. So yes, it hurts, because blackout, because you are blinded at that moment, and you do not see the reality. keep in mind that you do not it doesn't work this way where you kind of just one way, you remain in the blackout of the soul here, and then you eventually get into scar tissue. Well, you can, as per the doctrine, but many times it's much more nuanced. You're already immediately in cosmic 1 and immediately in cosmic 2, accumulating a whole lot of blackout, and then and scar tissue at the same time. Or first of all, a lot of blackout while the scar tissue is kind of going slow, but you're still accumulating scar tissue while you're at it. So it's much more nuanced than just simply, oh, you begin here, and then finally you reach a gate where you jump into cosmic 2. This is the blackout of the soul. And then point 7 is the scar tissue of the soul. Ephesians 4:17, 1 Timothy 4:1. So in point 8, you have so much scar tissue that you enter this phase of reverse process reversionism, where your standards are completely reversed and your relationships are reversed as well. And category 1, love, instead of focusing on God, you replace them with a cheap substitute. In category 2, love, which is romance, instead of focusing on your right woman, that woman that's been with you, supporting you this whole time, you substitute her for a cheap ass substitute. And category 3, love, which is friendship, those friends that has been with you, that have been loyal to you, who have demonstrated integrity towards you and all that, who tolerated you all throughout all these weird changes and phases that you went through, you replace them and you switch them for those on the snobby side, for the cheap substitute. You replace them with friends who do not care for you, those who are more popular, those who are, they're up to date with the new trends. They're much more glamorous. You want to appear with them on photos on social media, and you attend to these cafes with them and all these people that shine and have this certain type of shine because they make you look good. You just replaced your loyal friends with these. And so yes, your standards change. Your pastor teacher, God gave you a right pastor, but you reacted. As a result, you say, okay, I'm going to execute the Christian life under this other right pastor. And so you find yourself a Pentecostal pastor, or one who gives you motivational speakings, motivational teachings, or you find a cheap pastor who emphasizes legalism and a whole lot of works. Well, the end result is you replace your right pastor for the cheap substitute. And this is reverse process reversionism.